TF2 is a great game that has refused to die for over 15 years now. It's a unique game with unique characters, a unique playstyle, and a unique art style. But what makes this game what it is its vast variety of different items like weapons, cosmetics, taunts, and others. And a few of these items are so rare and visually appealing that nowadays it's something any player would want to get their hands on. I'm talking about Australiums and Unusuals. How's it going, guys? My name is Doge and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to give my honest opinion on Australium and unusual items in order to figure out which of these is worth more obtaining. Now do be advised that this is only my personal opinion. If you have a different opinion regarding this topic, I would love to hear you, so please, at the end of the video, make sure to comment your thoughts on this. I also would like to say a huge thank you to all of you for the amazing support on my last video. I never thought I'd get that much attention, let alone make a video like that, but you truly seem to like it, so thank you very much. Lastly, before we begin, I'd like to quickly say that I'm currently trying to get my Evi's Dream Unusual, the Sunbeam's Tough Guys Toke. I have my Steam trading link down below in case you'd like to help out, and something as little as a scrap is already a huge help. But of course, you don't have to do it. It's totally optional. But for those who decide to donate, you'll get a chance of showing up at the end of future videos in the special thanks section, as long as the vids are TF2 related. Now, without further ado, let's proceed with today's topic, Australiums versus Unusuals. Australiums. Australian weapons are weapons made out of Australium, a rare and mysterious metal that is similar to gold, but with different states and forms. It is extremely valuable and sought after, making it really expensive. Currently, there exists a total of 19 Australian weapons, 2 for each class, with the exception of the demo man who has 3, and a 20th Australian that is by far the rarest, prettiest, most desirable one, the golden frying pan. Now, I'm not going to include the sexy or the golden wrench, as they're no longer obtainable, but technically they are made out of Australium. If you're interested about learning more on these two items, feel free to read about them in the TF2 wiki. I'll leave a link to each of them down below in the description. Now, you must be wondering, okay, so Australiums are golden weaponry skins. Cool. But why are they so desirable? Well, the answer is simple. They're beautiful to look at, satisfying to kill with, and they give you a refreshing feeling when playing with them. It's hard to explain, but it makes you feel more powerful, more feared by your enemies, and more respected by your teammates. Trust me, every medic in your team will want to pocket you if they see you with that golden gun in your hands. Another thing is how rare these weapons are. The only way to get an Australium is through MVM drops. You have a chance of getting one by playing any man-up tour with the exception of the oil spill tour, which only drops the rust and blood bot killers. You have a 4% chance of getting an Australium drop at the end of each tour, which is on average 1 Australian per 25 tours, and a lower 0.00543% chance of getting the golden pan, though the drops are totally random, as there are players out there with 100 plus tours that have never even gotten a single Australian. A moment of silence for all the unlucky MVM gamers out there. Now, why is the golden pan specifically so desired by everyone? Well, firstly, it's an all-class melee weapon, and you can even use it as engineer in the spy, something the normal pan doesn't allow you to do. Secondly, everyone you kill with it gets turned into a golden statue ragdoll, which is pretty cool. Also, the sound. It's just so satisfying. Another thing that you get by using an Australium is a slightly different kill icon, similar to when you get a crit kill, but instead of the background being red, it's golden. And lastly, you can drop your Australian weapon whenever you die, as long as you are holding it, allowing other players to use it, and we all know that feeling of playing with something you've always wanted but might not be able to afford. Oh, and one last quick thing about Australians is that they all drop in the same quality. Strange, which means that they count your kills. And that's pretty much it for you Australiums. Now that we know more about them, let's dive deep into the world of Unusuals. Unlike Australiums, which are only weaponry skins, Unusuals currently exist in 3 different forms: hats, taunts, and warpaint. Essentially, Unusuals are items with special particle effects, and the way you can obtain these is by unboxing, which, by the way, you have just as little as a 1% chance of getting one. Unusuals can be obtained in any crate or case you open, however, the effect you get might vary depending on that crate or case series. Fun fact, there are 2 items that only exist in unusual quality, but have no effects on them whatsoever: the Haunted Metal Scrap and the Horseless Headless Horseman's Head Taker. Whew, that's a long name. But why, you may ask? Because the devs can do whatever the fuck they want with their game. Currently, there's a total of 240 different effects for hats, 99 different effects for taunts, and 4 different effects for warpaints, with one of them, called Energy Orb, being discontinued due to it getting removed from all unusual pools, making the effect extremely limited and rare. There also exist a few unused unusual effects like these ones, and this one called Orbit Shells that got removed from the game entirely. Again, I'll leave a link down in the description if you'd like to check out every unusual effect in its corresponding series. One curious fact about unusuals is that even though they have their own quality, there are some situations where you can unbox the double quality strange unusual items, which count your kills and have the respective effect on it. There's also a special unusual effect called Community Sparkle, which can only be obtained if you have created something that got implemented into the game. If you've created an item like a cosmetic or a taunt that made its way into the game, you will obtain that same item in self-made quality with the Community Sparkle effect applied on it. And if you made an unusual effect, you will get this hat with the Community Sparkle effect plus the unusual effect you created, also in self-made quality. Now that you got to know more about unusuals, I will now talk about the pros and cons of both Australiums and unusuals and try to find out which one is better. Let's start with the Australiums. Pros. To start off, you have a higher chance of getting Australiums compared to unusuals, Australiums being 4% chance and unusuals on 1% chance. They all drop in strange quality, counting the weapon skills. You got a golden kill icon for every kill you get with it. You can still apply a Festivizer to the majority of them. You're able to see it in both first and third person. You can inspect your Australian weapon, which allows you to see the entire weapon without needing to taunt or go to third person. And you can share your Australian weapon by dropping it whenever you get killed, giving other players a chance to try it. And now for the cons. To start off, there aren't many Australiums to choose from, as in more than 160 different weapons, there are only 20 Australiums, making their variety extremely small. You cannot apply any war paints on them because they're already a reskin, and as sad as it may sound, you may never even get one. Like I said, you have a 4% chance of getting an Australium in an MVM tour, but that may never happen, and if it does, it might be a low tier one like a Bloodsaugr or an Extinguisher. I'll say this, if you really want either an unusual or an Australium, you're better off just buying them straight away. It's just due to the fact that you have no idea of when you could potentially get one dropped, nor if it will be a higher tier one. But of course, if you're feeling lucky and you want to fight against the odds, you might end up making profit or getting your dream Australium or unusual. You never know. And now let's move on to the unusuals. Pros. To start off, you have currently 572 cosmetics with multiple unusual effects to choose from, meaning that the possibilities are almost endless. You have 3 different types of unusuals, as I mentioned earlier, having multiple choices to purchase or unbox one, and you could even equip all of them at the same time. Depending on the cosmetics, you can use 3 unusual hats having 3 unusual effects equipped at the same time. New unusual effects get added into the game from time to time. If you are using an unusual warpaint weapon, you can also inspect it and drop it on death, allowing other players to use it, and you can make your class's cosmetic sets even more unique. And I promise you that even if you're hard to please, there will at least be one unusual effect that will catch your eye. I think that unusuals give an extra touch to your appearance, and of course you'll also get a lot of compliments and admirers. And now for the cons. You can only see your unusual hat when taunting or in third person. The hat's unusual effect disappears on death and only reappears when you respawn. Unusual hats can make yourself more vulnerable to headshots, since everyone can see a giant beam of lights and colors on your head. And lastly, compared to Australiums, unusual items are extremely more expensive. Sure, you can still buy some cheaper unusuals, but usually you will end up getting a low tier effect or a more decent effect on a very ugly cosmetic. Now, there's another thing that I think it's worth pointing out, and that is when new cosmetics and unusual effects arrive. As you know, unfortunately TF2 hasn't had a major update in 5+ years, and the new updates that come with cosmetics and unusual effects don't drop that often, but when they do, the prices of these new unusuals are incredibly high. Obviously, this is because everyone wants what's new, something that feels refreshing, and because it's new, there isn't really a price attributed to these items yet, which makes the market really unstable and brings a big impact to the economy. Another reason being that less people are unboxing unusuals, making them more limited and ending up with just a few of them being sold. What's even worse is when these prices get manipulated. Let's say if a large group of individuals decides that a specific new unusual item is worth 500 keys when no one else is buying, they always end up offering a way lower price for that unusual so that they can resell that item for the price they originally intended, thus manipulating that item's price. To be fair though, nowadays the new unusuals aren't that expensive, as the effects themselves are okay, but nothing special. Sure, there's 1 or 2 that hit the mark, but the majority are just good, not great. The most expensive unusual cosmetics are the all-class unusuals, the strange unusuals, and the unusuals you got in crates that are no longer obtainable. With all of this said, I will now say what I personally think it's worth getting if you really want something nice for yourself. If I had to choose, I'd go for Australiums right off the bat. The reason being, your weapons are way more important than mere cosmetics. 90% of the time, you'll be fighting other players and firing your gun, which, by the way, this is a first-person shooter game, meaning that your gun will always be on your screen. Not only that, but on average, they are way cheaper than unusuals, and it feels way more satisfying playing with a golden gun and getting followed by everyone in the server just for them to steal it in the moment you die. Now, I understand that cosmetics are what makes TF2 what it is today, but this is a shooter game, not a fashion show. Now, regardless regardless of you getting an Australium or an unusual, I really recommend you buying them right away. You'll just never know if you'll be lucky enough to get one of them dropped or in box. But of course, your money, your choice. Just be cautious not to spend too much. And in case this video encouraged you to getting one of these beautiful items, let me know what you got in the comments. And most importantly, be thankful for the items you have. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you again if you watched the video until the end. It means a lot. I know this was a shorter video, and believe me when I say I wanted to make it longer, but after thinking and rethinking multiple times, I really didn't remember anything else worth pointing out. I also apologize for the time it took for this video to come out. I had some struggles in my personal life and kind of felt like giving up on the project. Thank God I didn't. As always, if you think that something needs to be improved, please let me know in the comments. All the feedback is greatly appreciated. I really love the entire process of making these videos, and your guys' support is what makes it even better. So thank you again, and as always, stay tuned for the next ones. Special thanks to TheGabenZone and BodnikTV for providing footage and feedback for the video, as well as the SFM poster made by Gaben on minute 2:13. Both their links will be down below in the description. Stay amazing, my friends, and I'll be seeing you around.